So now going through and creating some other stuff that we didn't create yesterday. Got our colors down, and now what I want to do is I want to go in and create some other stuff. Everything we did was basic shapes, but what we left out was how do you do mountains? How do you do little jagged parts? How do you do waves? How do you, things like that? Well, all those things, of course, would require the pen tool, right? No, they could, but I'm not using the pen tool. Well, I may use it a couple times. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you how you can go through and create cool shapes with using the effects panel. And so I'm going to start with just a very basic line. And grab my line here. I'm going to draw that line. And I think we need to go in and make it our tomato bisque color. There's my line. And how do I show something that's going to be warm or something that's going to be cool? Well, there's my warm. This is going to be my cool right there. And there's my cool. Great. And I would like to create little wavy lines. Now, if you've ever tried to go in with a pen tool and draw your wavy lines, and make it work, it doesn't work very well. Even though the pencil tool does the really cool smoothing effect, if I want to go in and do this, it looks smoother, but it certainly doesn't look like wavy lines. I could take a circle and cut it in half and flip it over and flip it over and flip it over, but nope, not going to happen. So I'm going to take my line under my effects menu, and I'm going to go to distort and transform. And what I want to do, because there's lots of cool effects that we can do with distort and transform, I'm going to jump to zigzag. And zigzag comes up, here's my preview. And I can create nice little ripples, mountains, little saw blades, teeth, things like this. And I can increase the size of them so I get more. I want to do a scatter chart, not a problem. I can also increase the number of ridges per segment. Somebody's really frazzled, you want to go ahead and do little saw teeth, that kind of thing. You can make them corner or you can make them smooth. So you want to do the edge of lasagna here? Not a problem. You can go ahead, cut down the number of bumps right there, but you could also do nice little heat waves too. Yes? Little squiggly heat waves going up if these were coming off of something, perfect. Steam coming off of water, whatever it may be. That works great. If I want to do mountains, sure I can do mountains. I can go in and I can do really peaky mountains right there, and I can just do something like that. So I can do hills and valleys, whatever it may be. Awesome. Now keeping in mind that this is still a line. Okay, I click on this, I can control the point size here, up or down. I'm going to take my other line here, and I'm also going to apply the same zigzag effect to it, except this I'm going to do smooth. And this I want to create some water, so I do my little squiggly there, cut it down so I don't have as many squiggles per inch or segment to kind of create a little flowing water. It could also mean cool, it could mean, air, it could mean whatever. So this is great. Now I've got my objects and I have them readily available here. And I said, oh, you know what? I maybe want to go ahead and put more ridges in here. Well, my appearance panel, go into window and call up appearance. My appearance panel is where I can go and adjust all of my effects. If you use Photoshop, layer effects, but here we have it. So in my appearance panel, this is going to be what is telling me what type of effect is applied to the line. It's just a straight line with an effect applied to it. There it is. Turn it on, turn it off. And if I want to edit it, I'm going to go to the link in the appearance. I'm going to click. So now I can go back and I can edit this, make sure the preview button stays on there. I can edit that so that I can get the correct look and feel, just like that. Now, if you ever want to do this and you want to use this again here, make a copy of this, stash it off to the side. Because I don't know if I'm going to want to create the same effect here with that. So I'm just going to put those off to the side, and then I'm going to edit these more. So if I ever want to go back to the originals, I always have them. Okay? I'm not a fan of hoarding, but this is where you need to hoard them. Okay? So now I've got my kind of look and feel. I can get some terrain going on here as well. But here's the advantage of keeping them as a line. Keeping them as a line allows me to go in and edit the effect at any point here and change that. That's great. I can also go in and I can use my awesome width shape tool, which allows me to get some really cool other effects. You want to do lightning or a little Shazam here? Absolutely. I simply take that, and because this is a stroke or a line, I can use my width shape tool to change the width of it. Well, this is awesome. Oh my gosh, if I wanted to go in and I wanted to make this lightning, I could then take my width shape tool, I could make it yellow, I could make it lightning. I could then rotate this whole thing like this, and there's my Shazam right there, and oh, I need to have less little zigzags. Not a problem. Click on my zigzag, click on the preview here. I need less little zigzags right there. You want to create a crack in something? Awesome. There's my Shazam. Boom. There's the water. Oh my gosh, do we need some clouds to control the lightning right there? Sure, why not? So you can see where we go with this. Now, this is still just a stroke. I can increase the size of the stroke, which is going to increase the size of this overall. I can also lengthen this so that we can make it longer or shorter, and I can completely edit this right here. However, a couple things happen when we're using paths. I can go ahead and I could round the end if I wanted to, which is going to completely change the look and feel of it. Make sure I have that selected, stroke, round the ends right there, and I can create something different. Well, this could be interesting, mildly so. But what I'd like to do now is I'd like to flatten out this end because I want to put it up against something. Well, the problem with this is I don't have the ability to flatten that end so that it's going to be parallel with the surface because it is a path. I can't just go in and chop this off. It's already stopped right there. So at this point, if I wanted to go in and I wanted to manipulate this as a shape, I'm going to copy this because if I ever need to go back to it, I've got it. I'm then going to take my path, go into the Object menu under Path, and I'm going to outline the stroke so that it literally becomes a fill. So now if I wanted to go through and I wanted to manipulate the points, or if I wanted to chop the top off here, I could very easily draw a rectangle over the top, and I could simply go to my Pathfinder tool, subtract the front, and now this gives me the flat top right there. If I wanted to now make the points more exaggerated, one point at a time or sets at a time, I could select it with my direct selection tool. Of course, go in and then knock them back and forth to do that. Great way to make a crack, a Shazam, lightning bolt, whatever it is, you got it. Okay? So that's one way to go ahead and do it using the line. So you can see as I go through here and create this stuff, every time I try something new, I get one more cool concept in my arsenal. So a lot of this stuff doesn't come because it's like, okay, I'm going to set out and I'm going to build this. I start to try things and it's like, oh, well, I just built this and I just built this. And here's why I love to keep everything on the same page, because I can draw from what's going on here and I can see, oh, if I take this concept and I do this with it and apply this to it, oh, that could work really cool. Now, having a lot of stuff on the page can seem really cluttered, and you can also draw from those ideas, but it can also get to be too much. We're not at the too much point already. Okay? I still got it under control. So I'm going to do the same thing with my little squishy line here, and I'm going to use my width shape tool as well, and I'm going to pull that out, and it's like, oh, well, that's a totally weird concept. Look at that. I like that. And it's like, this could be really cool. Could I go in and could I take this and could I do an icon of an ice cream cone where I just go in and I reduce the size of this thing and just get an absolutely awesome ice cream cone to work like that? And it's like, yeah, I could. Well, how would I do that? Well, first off, what I would do is I'd end up drawing a shape that's going to kind of match the curvature of my ice cream cone. Yes, like so. I like that. Okay, so I've got that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it right down here, and of course going to reduce the size by holding down my Shift and my Option key right there. So now I've got my ice cream cone. And if I go and I delete the bottom of it here, and I delete the top of it here, and I join the sides together using my Command J, oh my gosh, I just got myself an ice cream cone. Like so. And then, oh, do I have some colors that work for an ice cream cone? Oh, look, there's my ice cream cone color. Take my eyedropper tool, there it is, ice cream cone color, right there. I need to create an opening up here. Perfect, I used a perfect circle. Grab it again, put it in the center point there, draw that circle, move it down so it's kind of symmetrical, make it a little bit bigger right there, fit it right up inside there. I know the perspective's off a little bit, but that's what you get. I'm gonna make it a little bit darker to show the inside of my ice cream cone. Right there, park that right there, put it right behind there, send it to the back there. Oh my gosh. Okay, really tall ice cream cone. Not a problem, a little bit of foreshortening. There we go, ice cream cone. There you have it. Want to make it a little bit more pink? Sure you do. Okay, awesome. Now the cool thing is, if you wanted to put little striations on there to create the little ice cream cone, I'm not going to draw them again. I'm just simply going to copy and paste the bottom of it here, and there's my little roundy things. I could then go in, take that, make my little roundy things right there as little strokes, take that there, round the ends, and kind of reduce it in size here, fit it into place, reduce it in size as we go, and I could go in and do my little roundy things on my ice cream cone to kind of give it some dimension. Okay, there it is. Oh, and where did we start from? You mean we started right from here in this little teeny squiggly? Yeah, this is how it happens. You just simply begin.
Shirley thinks you're the MacGyver of Illustrator because you're taking like really basic stuff and turning it into something magical.
So years ago, we did a Photoshop class, years and years ago, and I did scrapbooking in Photoshop. And basically it was around Christmas time, and we just decided to do an all-out, like everything you do in Photoshop, under the guise of scrapbooking. And I was taking things and adding drop shadows and weaving them in behind and merging things together, and then people in the chat room were like, obviously he doesn't really do scrapbooking. And it's like, no, that's not the point. That was just the ruse to bring you in. This was all about cool stuff that you can do. You know, yeah, the ribbon goes through and over the river and through the woods. Not a problem. We can do it. So, there we have it. So again, anytime we want to edit our zigzag or any other effect right here, you can simply click on that, use our with shape tool as well. When we're done with this, object, path, we can then outline the stroke, and then we can go through here and control this any way that we want to as a shape now instead of an actual path. Now that we have that, then we could use this in many different ways. If I wanted to go in and I wanted, to create like little waves coming off of something, and so you get, waves, or you want to show rough water, or, you want to show water coming up next to a mountain, not a problem. You can do that. You create your little mountain using your polygon tool. There's your triangle. You go ahead and you create a nice little mountain using some brown right there. Put it over the top of it there. Great. Water hitting the side of the mountain. There you go. I don't know. You want to create a little boat ramp? Sure. Put a ramp right in there, do a little flat trailer, little wheels coming down to the water. Yeah, you got it, right there. Like so. Now you got your spaghetti, now you got your lasagna. Yep. You want to make lasagna noodles? Simple. Grab little swirly things right here. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this. Here's how you do lasagna noodles. I'm going to copy that down here. Lasagna noodles kind of look like this, don't they? Wow, these colors do prove to be pretty useful. So here's my lasagna noodles. Gonna grab that noodle, gonna copy it right there. Gonna go in, object, path, outline the stroke right there. And then if I want to copy these, or take my little pencil tool, I can put my little pencil together, pick up the color, a little stroke there, fill the whole thing in. Great, lasagna noodle. Right there. What do you need? Okay. So, other great stuff you can do with lines right here. Got a whole bunch of other things. So, under the effects window here, we have roughen, we have transform. Roughen allows you to go in and literally create all types of crackle. So, you want to create electricity, things like that. You can do smooth, so it kind of looks all crispity crunchity. So you can do lots of detail, a little bit of detail here, have things all over the place. Probably not so perfect with doing an infographic here. And by the way, I have zigzag turned on, so it's going to combine the two of them together. And so there's your roughen, and I can do lots of rough, a little bit of rough, smooth, corner. So you want to create, static, things like that. Another thing that you can do. Great in short little periods. Not really good for tons of stuff, but if you want to show, you know, create a fake little chart kind of thing. That's one way of doing it. Other stuff that we can do with the effects panel, I'm going to turn off my roughen right here. So effects, distort, and transform. We have twist, and twist allows me to go in and twist something like so. So this is really awesome if you want to create like fan blades or something where you want to rotate your objects around. Really, really, really cool. So say I have a fan blade here, okay? And I want to create a whole bunch of fan blades. Yes, I know it's just a raindrop here, but it's going to be a fan blade. Because watch this. There it is. I'm going to take these, I'm going to duplicate these, rotate these as well. I'm going to park those so that they all go right into the middle, right there. I'm going to grab these all together, and you want to do a little rotating fan blade? Sure. Effect, distort, twist. Ready? Here we go. There's my little twisty. I can go in and I can twist those all. That's an awful lot, but I can create kind of a little swirly fan blade effect as I go around them. Yeah, not quite perfect, not quite what I wanted to do here. Yeah, a little bit of twisty, twirly, but you can try it. There you go. Try stuff. What the heck? Okay, so all those effects right there under the effect right here, free, distort, pucker, bloat, roughen, transform, tweak, twist. What is tweak? I can't remember what tweak was. Let's try tweak. Effect, distort, tweak, right there. Oh, this is going to look crazy, isn't it? Horizontal tweak, vertical tweak. Yeah. Boy, it just makes a big old mess, doesn't it? Well, you can do that with the pen tool. Don't need to do a special effect with that. That's for sure. Yeah. So lots of fun stuff with lines that you can do with all of the effects. So don't be shy. Try these things. And I'm going to store these over here because I just know we're going to have use for these in the very near future. Okay. So we had talked about creating some type of drop shadows and stuff like that on there. One of the things that I want to show you is going in and creating shadows in certain segments. Okay. And I can very easily take a circle and divide it up into sections here. And I may want to have a chart where I'm using the same color, but I would like to go ahead and imply a change of color. And so I'm just going to go use my polar grid tool here, and I'm going to get rid of all of my lines. Actually, I'm going to use my up and down arrow here and my right arrow. So I'm going to take, I want to draw with my shift key held down. Okay. So I draw my shape right here, and what I'd like to do is I'm just going to fill it with a color here. I think the yellow is going to work awesome. And I just have a pie chart where I'd like to divide it up into equal sections. And I'd like to put some different colors in here, but I don't want to put a lot of different colors in here. I may just want to use the one color, but I want to imply the different colors here, not by changing the color, but by using shading. And I'm not going to use drop shadows or gradients here. I'm going to do something that's actually quite awesome. I'm going to go into the object menu, and I want to actually ungroup this whole thing. And when I ungroup this, then I can actually get in here and get all of my little dividers. Now, this is interesting because the way this is actually done is it's actually divided by lines here. So in order to make this actually divided into my pie-shaped segments, I'm actually going to go into the Pathfinder and I'm going to choose Divide. And when I divide this, then I should get everything divided up the way I want it to be. So each one should be divided into its own section. If I go through and ungroup this, for some reason it's not ungrouping at all. Object, expand. Nope, it's not ungrouping the whole thing. Let me draw that again. So I draw that. Object, I'm going to divide the whole thing, fill it with a color, expand that, see if I can't. I want to be able to break that all apart. Let's see what we've got here. So we've got that, object, group, expand. I want to get rid of all those little sections. Divide them all up. Divide. It's not wanting to divide everything. Outline the whole thing. I want those little sections. Guess I'm not going to be able to get my little divider the way I want it to be here. So I'm going to have to draw this my own way. So I'm just going to draw the circle, fill it with a color, and I want to divide this up here. So I'm going to draw lines right through the division here. Grab my lines, then I'm going to use the divide feature, the trim. There we go. Divide it all up. Now I've got everything. Ungroup it. Great. Now I've got all my different sections there, all separate and in pieces. Now, I would like to do just a very subtle color change on all of this stuff. So using the same color here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to now put in just some shadow and shading. So with these pieces, I want to keep this yellow. I could go in here and do lighter, darker here, but I'm going to take this one, I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste this right here. And what I want to do is I want to create some shading with lines. So I'm going to take my line tool and I'm just going to draw a line at a 45-degree angle. And I am going to fill that with a darker color of that yellow right here. And I want to make it substantial enough. And then I'm going to duplicate this by holding down, let's see, I've got to make this line longer here, keeping it at a 45-degree angle so it covers everything. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this line right across here, and then Command D, Command D, Command D, all the way on across, okay? And this is a little bit more tricky, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a clipping mask so that these lines create kind of a shading effect, okay? So I'm going to take this, I'm actually going to copy this as well because I'm going to use it for the other side, but I'm going to take my object in which I want to put my shading in. And the way this works is I describe it as framing a picture. You've got your picture frame, and your picture frame goes on top and your artwork comes in from behind. So this is where I want to see all of my items, and everything is going to come in from behind. So I have my picture frame in front. I'm going to grab all this other material here and keep clicking on this. Okay, so I'm going to get all this right there, and I'm going to group this together. I'm going to select my object, and I'm going to do what's called a clipping mask. My front object is what's going to clip and mask out everything inside. The picture frame or your object where you're going to see everything goes in the front, everything else goes in the back. Object, clipping mask, make. Command 7. When I do that, it will then go in and it will fill the entire object with just what it is that you want to see. So that quarter shape there is my clipping mask, and it masks out everything. Now I'm going to then park this right up here inside or on top of my circle, and I can leave my original quarter right there, and I can park that right there. And now I have a really nice way that I've created a shaded portion of my object without going in and creating a different colored slice. You create several different colored slices, then all of a sudden you get this myriad of colors and everything going crazy. It's like, okay, so if it was that easy, I'm then going to take this and I'm going to select all of these colors and move that out of the way so I can quickly select those. I'm going to go back to my color that I chose over here, and that's going to be my stroke color there. Group that all together just out of habit, send those to the back so that my little window's in front. And let's see, what color did I make those? Yeah. Oh, I need to make those the same point size. Okay, so there it is. Grab that, Command 7 to make my clipping mask, and there is my other section. I'm going to rotate this like that, and I can now park this right up here on this other section, and now I have a graph or a chart. Once I line that up perfectly, I now have a graph or a chart that's going to be exactly what I want it to be, but keeping everything subtle. Now we had talked about colors quite a lot, so I've got my object here, and why is that not fitting exactly? Oh, probably because I didn't divide it perfectly in there. Don't pay attention to that. There we go, make it just slightly larger. Okay, so now I can create a graph here that has different tonal ranges going on here. Same color, I have a tint, I have a shade of that, but I have a really cool feel on what's going on. If I used red or yellow or green or pink, all of a sudden it becomes one of those charts that you see when somebody does one of those presentations, where you have 40 different pieces of the pie and everyone's a screaming primary color. But what this does is this creates a very subtle change without any gradients, without any shadows, and from a distance here, it does look like there's a tonal change there, but because you're using the same basic hue, we're changing the saturation and the brightness on it, it really makes a difference, which is just so much fun. And this is some of what I'm going to use when we go through and build the final infographic here, a lot of subtle stuff. So yes, I can create patterns, yes, I can create textures here, but it doesn't need to be a plaid texture that screams and have a lot of contrasting colors. Subtle tonal changes, subtle weight changes, spacing, all come into play really, really well. And you can see where you could do that too with having these lines running across something to create some type of texture here. And how that works is really simple. All you need to do is just simply create your pattern. And in fact, I'll just use this. I'm going to take my pattern here, and whatever shape I want it to appear in, I could then take my object, and then whatever shape I want that to appear in, I'm going to draw and I'm going to put on top. Select everything. Kind of looks like a little spider, doesn't it? And then the shape that I want everything to appear in goes on top. It gets masked out, and there's my object right there. Now, going in and selecting the content here is a little bit fun. Under the window menu, we have our layers panel, and our layers panel allows us to be able to access these items really, really, really quickly. If I go in and I open up my twirly here, there's tons of stuff because I've done everything on the layer here. You can find wherever my object is selected, I'm going to have the little blue button right there. And I can open this up, and what this allows me to do is this allows me to specifically select the path that is doing the clipping, and this allows me to select my grouped item without having to take everything apart. Once I select the grouped item, I could then go in and I could change the color if I wanted to, or if I wanted to edit the path here, I could go in and directly select the path, and I could change whatever it is that I'm doing on there to change the object free and independent of everything else. So using the layers panel is quite fantastic. I'm actually going to check my panel options and make those little layers panel a little bit bigger. As things get a little bit more complex, your layers panel is going to be your friend. So this little group that we did right here, and here's one of the reasons why I group things together. With all these lines in here, before I went ahead and I did my clipping mask, I just grouped them out of habit, and that habit is this. When I select something here and I go into my layers panel to see where things are, and I know where they are in the group here, and I open it up, do you notice how all those lines are in a group? If they didn't group them all together, I would have 30 layers of line, 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 which makes it really difficult to navigate through the whole thing. But because it's in the group, I can specifically select that group. And with that then, if I really wanted to, I could go into isolation mode by double-clicking. I could select anything in that group as well, grab all those items in the group like so, and I could change those however I wanted to inside that group. So there's a lot of advantages of working cleanly. Again, this is one of these best practices things. I group things when I've got tons of little things all over the place to work with. I just group it all together. Multiple items, because I don't want to have to go in and select and grab certain items all the time. Yep. Layers panel, definitely your friend. I don't use it a lot simply because I create really simple stuff, so I want to make sure that everything stays really, really simple. So shadow and shading here, using textures, using lines here, tints and shades, absolutely wonderful stuff.